She showed up at my door in the middle of a storm, dripping wet, trembling, eyes wild with something between terror and hope. I hadn't seen Nora Bennett in 3 years. Last time, she was just my best friend's kid sister. Now she was standing in my doorway telling me she ran away from everything because of me. Because she'd been in love with me since she was 17. And I had about 10 seconds to decide if I was going to let her in or close the door on both our lives forever. If you want to know what happened next, if you want to see how a single choice on a rainy night can unravel everything you thought you knew, stick with me till the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The knock came at 11:47 p.m. I knew the time because I'd just glanced at the microwave clock, wondering if I should reheat the coffee or just go to bed. My son Jamie had been asleep for 2 hours. The house was quiet except for the rain hammering the roof like it had a personal grudge. Then, 3 sharp knocks. Deliberate. Urgent. I wasn't expecting anyone. Nobody just showed up at my place unannounced, especially not this late. For a second I thought maybe it was a neighbor with an emergency, or worse, someone from the school about Jamie. My gut tightened as I crossed the living room. I opened the door. And there she was, Nora Bennett. Soaking wet, hair plastered to her face, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder, rain streaming off the fabric onto my porch. Her eyes locked on mine, wide and fierce, and filled with something I couldn't name right away. "Caleb," she said. Just my name, like it explained everything. For a moment I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My brain was trying to catch up. Nora, Ryan's little sister. The girl who used to sit on the couch doing homework while Ryan and I played video games in high school, the one who left for college 3 years ago and never came back. Except now she was here, at my door, in the middle of the night. "Nora?" I finally managed. "What the hell? Can I come in?" Her voice cracked on the last word. Not a question, really. More like a plea. I stepped aside without thinking. She walked past me, dripping water onto the hardwood, and I shut the door behind her. The sound of the rain muffled instantly, leaving just the sound of her breathing, fast, shallow, like she'd been running. "Are you hurt?" I asked, scanning her for injuries. "What happened? Is Ryan—" "Ryan doesn't know I'm here." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean he doesn't know? Nora, where have you been? Everyone's been—" I left. She dropped the duffel bag. It hit the floor with a wet thud. Her shoulders sagged, but her eyes stayed locked on mine. Defiant, terrified, determined. "I left everything," she said. "My apartment, my job, the life everyone expected me to live. I left all of it." I stared at her. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what the hell was happening. Nora had always been the golden child. Straight A's? Full scholarship. Last I heard, she was working some high-powered internship in the city, engaged to some guy Ryan couldn't stop bragging about. "Why?" I asked. She took a shaky breath. Her hands were trembling. "Because of you." The words hit me like a fist to the chest. "What?" "I'm in love with you, Caleb." Her voice was steady now, even though her hands weren't. "I have been for years, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep pretending I was happy. I couldn't marry someone I don't love. So I left, and I came here." I felt the ground shift under my feet. "Nora, I know what you're going to say." She took a step closer. "I know you think this is crazy. I know you probably still see me as Ryan's little sister. But I'm not that girl anymore, Caleb. I haven't been for a long time. And I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I couldn't keep lying to myself. Not anymore." My mouth opened. Nothing came out. She was right. I did still see her as Ryan's little sister. The kid who used to beg us to let her tag along. The one Ryan threatened to kill me over if I ever so much as looked at her the wrong way. But standing in front of me now wasn't a kid. She was a woman. Soaked to the bone, shaking, vulnerable, but fully, undeniably a woman. "I don't expect you to say anything right now," she said quietly. "I just needed you to know, and I needed somewhere to go. Even if it's just for tonight." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to think, trying to process. "Does anyone know you're here?" "No." "Does your fiancé know you left?" Her jaw tightened. Ex-fiancé. And yes, by now he does. "Jesus, Nora. I know." She looked down at the floor, water still dripping from her clothes. She looked exhausted, hollowed out, like she'd been holding herself together for so long and finally let go. I didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't send her back out into the rain. "Okay," I said. "You can stay, tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you. Bathroom's down the hall. I'll get you a towel and some dry clothes." She nodded, picking up her bag and following me deeper into the house. I gave her an old t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants that were way too big for her. She disappeared into the bathroom, and I stood in the hallway, staring at the wall, trying to wrap my head around what just happened. Nora Bennett. In love with me. It didn't make sense. She was Ryan's sister, off limits, always had been. The rule was unspoken, but absolute. And even if it wasn't, she was too young, too smart, too everything. She had her whole life ahead of her, a future that didn't involve a 32-year-old single dad barely keeping his head above water. But she was here, and she'd looked me in the eye and told me she loved me. I heard the bathroom door open. She stepped out, barefoot, drowning in my clothes. Her hair was still damp, hanging loose around her shoulders. Without the rain and the panic, she looked softer, younger, but not like a kid. "Thank you," she said again. "Yeah." I cleared my throat. "You hungry?" "Starving." I led her to the kitchen and pulled out some leftover pasta from the fridge. She sat at the table, watching me as I reheated it in silence. The air between us felt heavy, loaded with things neither of us knew how to say. I set the plate in front of her. She ate like she hadn't had a meal in days. "When's the last time you ate?" I asked. "Yesterday, maybe. I don't know. It's all kind of a blur." I sat down across from her. "You want to tell me what happened?" She set down her fork, staring at the food. "I was supposed to get married next month." "Yeah, Ryan mentioned it." "Did he mention I didn't want to?" I frowned. "No." "Of course he didn't." She laughed bitterly. "Because I didn't tell him. I didn't tell anyone. I just went along with it. Because that's what I always do. I go along with what everyone expects." "So what changed?" She looked up at me. I realized I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stand at an altar and promise forever to someone I don't love. Not when I've been in love with someone else since I was 17. Her eyes didn't leave mine. I looked away first. "Nora, don't tell me I don't know what I feel." Her voice was firm. "I'm not a kid, Caleb. I know the difference between a crush and love. And I know you don't feel the same way. I'm not asking you to. But I had to tell you. I had to do something real for once in my life." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. We sat in silence for a while. She finished eating. I made her tea. It felt surreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. "Where were you planning to go?" I asked eventually. "If you didn't come here." "I don't know. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I had to leave." "And you came here?" "Yeah." "Why?" She looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Because you're the only person who's ever made me feel like I could be myself." That hit harder than I expected. "I don't think Ryan's going to see it that way," I said quietly. "I know. He's going to lose his mind when he finds out you're here. I know that too." "And your ex, Cameron?" She said the name like it tasted bad. "He'll try to find me. He always does." "What do you mean, he always does?" She hesitated. "He's controlling. He doesn't like it when things don't go his way." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "Did he hurt you?" "Not physically, but he made me feel like I couldn't breathe, like I didn't exist outside of what he wanted me to be." I clenched my jaw. "You should have left him a long time ago." "I know, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where to go." She paused. "Until I did." I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time, I saw past the girl I used to know. I saw someone who was scared and brave and desperate for something real. And I had no idea what to do with that. "What?" I set her up in the guest room. It was small, barely more than a closet with a bed, but it was clean. She didn't complain. "Get some sleep," I said from the doorway. "We'll figure out what to do in the morning." "Caleb?" I stopped. "Thank you for not turning me away." I nodded. Good night, Nora. I closed the door and stood in the hallway, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, a text from Ryan. Have you heard from Nora? My stomach dropped. I stared at the message, thought about lying, thought about telling the truth. In the end, I just put the phone back in my pocket and walked away. I didn't sleep. I spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word Nora had said, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. By the time the sun came up, I still didn't have an answer. I heard movement in the guest room. A minute later, Nora appeared in the kitchen doorway, still wearing my clothes, hair tied back in a messy bun. Morning, she said. Morning. Did you sleep? Not really. She nodded, like she had expected that. Me neither. I made coffee. We sat at the table in silence, both of us too tired to pretend this wasn't as complicated as it was. Ryan texted me last night, I said eventually, asking if I'd heard from you. Her face went pale. What did you say? Nothing, yet. You have to tell him. I know. But not yet. She looked at me, eyes pleading. Please, just give me a day. I need time to figure out what I'm going to say. I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell her this was a bad idea. That keeping secrets from Ryan was only going to make things worse. But I couldn't. One day, I said. She exhaled. Thank you. But Jamie woke up around 7. I heard his footsteps padding down the hall, and a second later he appeared in the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Morning, bud, I said. He stopped when he saw Nora. Who's that? Nora smiled. Hi, I'm Nora. I'm a friend of your dad's. Jamie looked at me, then back at her. Are you staying here? Just for a little while, I said. He shrugged, already losing interest. Can I have cereal? Yeah, go ahead. He climbed into his chair, and I poured him a bowl. Nora watched him with a soft expression, something almost wistful in her eyes. How old is he? She asked. 5. He's cute. He's a handful. Jamie looked up. What's a handful? You, I said. He grinned and went back to his cereal. Nora laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd heard from her since she showed up, and it made something in my chest loosen. Maybe this wouldn't be a complete disaster. After breakfast, I took Jamie to school. Nora stayed behind, and I couldn't help but feel nervous leaving her alone in my house. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I didn't know what she might do. Call someone. Leave. Change her mind. But when I got back, she was still there, sitting on the couch, staring at her phone. Everything okay? I asked. 17 missed calls, 32 texts. She looked up at me. From Cameron, my parents, and Ryan. What are they saying? Cameron's threatening to call the police. My parents think I've had a breakdown. And Ryan, she trailed off, her jaw tightening. Ryan's pissed. Did you respond? No. I sat down next to her. You're going to have to eventually. I know. She set the phone down. But not yet. I just need a little more time. Time for what? To breathe. I understood that. More than I wanted to admit. Okay, I said, but we can't avoid this forever. I know. She leaned back against the couch, closing her eyes. For a moment, she looked so young, so tired, so lost. And I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wanted to protect her. Not because she was Ryan's sister, not because I felt obligated, but because somewhere along the way, I'd started seeing her as more than that. The day passed quietly. Nora helped me clean the house, even though I told her she didn't have to. We didn't talk much, just moved around each other in a rhythm that felt oddly natural. When I picked Jamie up from school, he ran straight to her. Nora, guess what I did today? She crouched down to his level. What? I drew a dinosaur. Want to see? Absolutely. He dragged her over to the kitchen table, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper covered in crayon scribbles. Nora studied it like it was a masterpiece. That's incredible, she said. What kind of dinosaur is it? A T-Rex? See the teeth? Oh yeah, those are some serious teeth. Jamie beamed. I watched them from the doorway, something warm and unfamiliar spreading through my chest. This was dangerous. Not because Nora was here, not because she'd said she loved me, but because I was starting to like having her here. That night, after Jamie went to bed, Nora and I sat on the porch. The rain had stopped, leaving the air cool and damp. She wrapped herself in one of my jackets, pulling her knees up to her chest. "I didn't think I'd feel this calm," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" "I thought running away would feel chaotic, scary, but it doesn't. It feels right." I didn't know what to say to that. "Do you ever feel like your whole life is just you doing what other people expect?" she asked. "Every day." She looked at me. "Then why do you do it?" "Because I don't have a choice. I've got Jamie, I've got responsibilities." "But do you ever do anything just for you?" I thought about it. "No." "Why not?" "Because I can't afford to." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Maybe that's why we both ended up so stuck." I looked at her. "What do you mean? You're stuck because you think you have to be. I was stuck because I thought I was supposed to be, but neither of us is actually living. We're just surviving." She was right, and I hated that she was right. "So what are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know yet." She looked out at the street, the faint glow of streetlights reflecting in her eyes. "But for the first time in my life, I get to decide. And that's terrifying, but it's also kind of amazing." I couldn't argue with that. We sat in silence for a while longer, the night settling around us. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel quite so alone. The next morning, everything changed. I was making breakfast when my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Ryan. My stomach sank. I looked at Nora. She was sitting at the table holding a cup of coffee, her face going pale as she saw the name on my screen. "Don't answer it," she said. "I have to." "Caleb," I answered. "Where the hell is she?" Ryan's voice was sharp, furious. "Ryan, don't lie to me, Caleb. I know she's there." My blood went cold. "How?" "Cameron tracked her phone. It pinged near your address. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is my sister at your house?" I looked at Nora. Her eyes were wide, terrified. Could lie. I could tell Ryan he was wrong. Buy us more time. But I didn't. "Yeah," I said. "She's here." The line went silent. Then, "I'm on my way." He hung up. I lowered the phone, my heart pounding. Nora stood up, her hands shaking. "What did he say?" "He's coming." "Oh, God. It's going to be okay." "No, it's not." She started pacing. "You don't know what he's like when he's angry. He's going to lose it. He's going to think you—" "I don't care what he thinks." She stopped, looking at me. "I mean it," I said. "You came here because you needed help. I'm not going to throw you out just because Ryan's pissed. He's your best friend." "Yeah. And you're—" I stopped, the words catching in my throat. She stared at me. "You're here," I finished, "and I'm not sending you away." Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't say anything, just nodded. 20 minutes later, a car screeched to a stop outside. Ryan stormed up the driveway. I opened the door before he could knock. He didn't say a word, just shoved past me into the house. "Where is she?" Nora stepped into the hallway. Ryan froze. "Nora." "Don't." Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor underneath. "Don't start. What the hell are you doing here?" His voice was shaking with anger. "Do you have any idea what you've put everyone through? Mom and Dad are losing their minds. Cameron's threatening to—" "I don't care what Cameron's doing. You left him at the altar." "I left him before the altar. There's a difference. That doesn't make it okay." "It makes it my choice." Ryan's jaw clenched. Then he turned to me. "And you." His voice dropped. Dangerous. "You knew she was here and you didn't tell me. She asked me not to." "So what? You're taking her side now?" "I'm not taking anyone's side. She needed help. I helped her." "She's my sister." "I know." "Then why the hell didn't you call me?" "Because she didn't want me to," I snapped. "Because for once in her life, she's trying to make her own decisions, and maybe you should let her." Ryan's face went red. "You don't get to tell me how to handle my family." And you don't get to control her. Control her? He laughed bitterly. I'm trying to protect her. From what? Nora's voice cut through. From living my own life? Ryan turned to her. You don't know what you're doing. Yes, I do. You think running away solves anything? I think staying would have destroyed me. That's dramatic. It's the truth. They stared at each other, the air crackling with tension. Then Ryan looked at me. She told you, didn't she? I frowned. Told me what? About her little crush. My stomach dropped. Nora's face went white. Ryan, that's why she's here, isn't it? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. She's been in love with you since high school, Caleb, and now she's run away from her life because she thinks you're going to save her. Stop it, Nora said. No. Ryan stepped closer to me. You need to hear this. She doesn't love you. She's obsessed with some fantasy version of you. And if you're smart, you'll send her home before this gets any worse. Ryan, shut up. Nora's voice was shaking now. I'm serious, Caleb. Don't do this. Don't let her ruin her life over some stupid... It's not stupid. The words came out before I could stop them. Ryan stared at me. What? I looked at Nora. Her eyes were wide, hopeful, terrified. It's not stupid, I said again. And I'm not sending her away. Ryan's expression darkened. You've got to be kidding me. I'm not. She's 24 years old, Caleb. She doesn't know what she wants. She knows more than you think. And what, you're just going to let her throw her life away? I'm going to let her make her own choices. Ryan took a step back, shaking his head. I can't believe this. Ryan? No. He held up a hand. You know what? Fine. Do whatever you want, but when this blows up in your face, don't come crying to me. He turned and walked toward the door. Ryan, wait. Nora started after him. He stopped, looking back at her. You want to stay here? Fine, but don't expect me to be okay with it. Then he left. The door slammed shut behind him. Nora stood frozen in the middle of the hallway, tears streaming down her face. I walked over to her. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. I just ruined your friendship. No, you didn't. She looked up at me, her eyes red. Then what did I do? I didn't have an answer, so I just pulled her into a hug. She collapsed against me, sobbing into my chest, and I held her. Because I didn't know what else to do, Sam. Ryan didn't call, didn't text. Nothing. Nora spent the rest of the day in her room. I didn't push, just let her be. By the time Jamie got home from school, the house felt heavy, like the walls were pressing in. Where's Nora? Jamie asked. She's resting. Is she sad? Yeah, bud, she's sad. Why? Because sometimes grown-ups have fights, and it makes people sad. He thought about that. Did you fight? Not me. Her brother. Oh. He paused. Can I give her my dinosaur to make her feel better? Something in my chest cracked. Yeah, I said. I think she'd like that. Jamie ran to his room and came back with the crumpled drawing. I knocked on Nora's door. Come in, she said quietly. I opened the door. She was sitting on the bed, knees pulled to her chest. Jamie wants to give you something, I said. Jamie walked in, holding out the drawing. I made this for you, so you won't be sad. Nora's eyes filled with tears. She took the drawing, looking at it like it was the most precious thing in the world. Thank you, Jamie, she whispered. This is perfect. He smiled. You're welcome. Then he ran off. Nora looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I don't deserve this, she said. Yeah, I said, you do. And for the first time since she'd shown up at my door, I meant it. That night, after Jamie fell asleep, I found Nora sitting on the porch again. She had his dinosaur drawing pressed against her chest like a shield. You okay? I asked, stepping outside. She didn't look at me. I keep thinking about what Ryan said. Which part? All of it. She exhaled slowly. He's not wrong, you know. I did ruin everything. My engagement, my relationship with my family, your friendship with him. You didn't ruin anything, I said, sitting down next to her. You made a choice. There's a difference. Is there? She finally looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like I just blew up my entire life and dragged you down with me. Nobody dragged me anywhere. I let you in. That was my choice. Why? The question hung in the air between us. I could have given her an easy answer, could have said it was because she needed help, or because I couldn't turn away someone in trouble. But sitting there in the dark, with her looking at me like I was the only solid thing left in her world, I couldn't lie. I don't know, I said honestly, but I don't regret it. She studied my face for a long moment. You should. This is only going to get messier. Probably. Cameron's not going to let this go, and Ryan, her voice cracked. I've never seen him that angry. He'll come around. You don't know that. No, I admitted. But I know Ryan, and I know he loves you. He's just scared. Of what? Of losing you. Of you getting hurt. Of things changing. I paused. Same things we're all scared of. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, What are you scared of, Caleb? The question caught me off guard. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Failing Jamie, I said finally. Failing at the one thing that actually matters. You're not failing him. He's happy. He's loved. That's all that matters. Is it? I looked at her. Because most days I feel like I'm barely holding it together, like one wrong move and everything falls apart. That's just life, she said softly. Nobody's holding it together. We're all just pretending. You weren't pretending when you showed up here. No, she agreed. I wasn't, and it was terrifying, but it was also the first honest thing I'd done in years. I didn't know what to say to that. We sat in silence, the night air cool against our skin. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked, a car passed, headlights sweeping across the lawn. Can I ask you something? Nora said. Yeah. When Ryan said I've been in love with you since high school, she hesitated. Did you know? I shook my head. No, I had no idea. Really? Really? I just thought you were Ryan's kid sister. I never looked at you any other way. And now? The question was barely a whisper. I looked at her, at the way the porch light caught in her hair, the way she was holding herself together with visible effort, the way she was trying so hard to be brave. Now I don't know what I think, I said honestly. It wasn't the answer she wanted. I could see it in her face, but it was the truth. Okay, she said quietly. I'm sorry. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't apologize. I didn't come here expecting you to fall in love with me. I came here because I couldn't breathe anymore, and you were the only person who ever made me feel like I could. Nora, I mean it. You don't owe me anything, Caleb. You've already done more than I had any right to ask. She stood up, Jamie's drawing still clutched in her hand. Good night, she said. Then she went inside, leaving me alone on the porch, with too many thoughts and not enough answers. The next few days fell into an uneasy rhythm. Nora stayed. I didn't ask her to leave. We didn't talk about what happened with Ryan. Didn't talk about what she'd said on the porch. Just existed in the same space, careful not to push too hard on anything that might break. She started helping out more around the house, cooking dinner, folding laundry, playing with Jamie after school. I told her she didn't have to, but she insisted. I need to do something, she said. I can't just sit around, so I let her. And slowly, the house started to feel different, less empty, less like I was barely surviving and more like we were actually living. Jamie loved having her there. He'd come home from school and immediately look for her, dragging her into whatever game or project he'd thought up that day. She never said no, never acted like it was a burden, just dropped whatever she was doing and gave him her full attention. Watching them together did something to me, something I didn't want to examine too closely. But I couldn't help it, because Nora wasn't just good with Jamie. She was natural, like she'd been doing this her whole life. And Jamie responded to her in a way he didn't with most people. He was more open, more himself. Why doesn't Nora have kids? He asked me one night at bedtime. I don't know, bud. She's still young. But she'd be a good mom. Yeah, I said. She would. He rolled over, already half asleep. I like her. Me too, I said quietly. And that was the problem. Because I did like her. More than I should. More than I'd planned. And I didn't know what to do about it. Well, On Thursday, Nora's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. "It's Cameron," she said. I was in the kitchen making coffee. "You going to answer?" "I don't know." The phone kept ringing. "If you don't, he's just going to keep calling," I said. She took a shaky breath and answered. "What do you want?" I could hear Cameron's voice on the other end, loud and sharp. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. He was angry. "I'm not coming back," Nora said. "I told you that," more yelling. "It doesn't matter where I am. That's not your business anymore." A pause. Then Cameron said something that made Nora's entire body go rigid. "You don't get to threaten me," she said, her voice shaking. "We're done. I'm done. Leave me alone." She hung up. Her hands were trembling. "What did he say?" I asked. "He said if I don't come back by the end of the week, he's going to make sure I regret it." She looked at me, fear in her eyes. "He knows people, Caleb. He has connections. He could make my life hell if he wanted to." "He's bluffing. You don't know him." "Then we'll deal with it, together." She shook her head. "This isn't your problem." "You're staying in my house. That makes it my problem." "Caleb, I'm serious, Nora. You're not going back to him. I don't care what he says." She stared at me. "Why are you doing this?" "Because it's the right thing to do." "Is that the only reason?" The question hung between us. I didn't answer. She looked down at her phone, then set it on the counter. "I should leave, before this gets worse." "No." "Caleb, I said no." I stepped closer. "You came here because you needed somewhere safe. This is safe. You're staying. You don't understand what you're getting into." "Then explain it to me." She hesitated, then she said, "Cameron doesn't lose. Ever. If he wants something, he finds a way to get it. And right now he wants me back. Not because he loves me, but because I left him. And that makes him look weak. So let him look weak." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because he'll come after you too. He'll find out I'm here and he'll make your life miserable. He'll dig into your past, find anything he can use against you. He'll try to take Jamie. He can't take Jamie. Jamie's my son. He'll try anyway. He has lawyers, Caleb, good ones, and he's vindictive enough to do it just to hurt me." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Then we get a lawyer too." "With what money?" She had a point. I was barely making ends meet as it was. A legal battle with someone like Cameron would bury me, but I didn't care. "I'll figure it out," I said. "This is insane." "Probably. You barely know me." "I know enough." She looked at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "Why do you care so much?" "Because someone should." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked away, blinking rapidly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. We still have to get through this." She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her face, the fear that this was all going to fall apart. And honestly, I wasn't sure she was wrong. That weekend, everything shifted. Jamie had a soccer game on Saturday morning. I almost told Nora she didn't have to come, but she insisted. "I want to," she said. "Besides, I've never seen him play." So we went. The field was packed with parents and kids, the air filled with shouting and the smell of cut grass. Jamie's team was terrible. They spent most of the game chasing the ball in a chaotic swarm, nobody really knowing what they were doing. But Jamie loved it, and Nora cheered louder than anyone. "Go, Jamie, you've got this," she yelled, cupping her hands around her mouth. I glanced at her, and she caught me looking. "What?" she said. "Nothing. You're just really into this." "Of course I am. He's trying so hard." Jamie didn't score, didn't even touch the ball much. But when the game ended, he ran straight to us, grinning ear to ear. "Did you see me?" he asked breathlessly. "We saw everything," Nora said, crouching down to his level. "You were amazing." "I didn't score." "So what? You ran your heart out. That's what matters." He beamed. Then he looked at me. "Can Nora come to all my games?" I hesitated. "If she wants to," I said. Jamie looked at Nora hopefully. "I'd love to," she said. And the way his face lit up made something in my chest tighten. After the game, we stopped for ice cream. Jamie got chocolate. Nora got strawberry. I got coffee because apparently I'm boring. We sat outside at a picnic table, the sun warm on our faces. "This is nice," Nora said quietly. "Yeah," I agreed. Jamie was focused entirely on his ice cream, oblivious to the way Nora and I kept glancing at each other. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "What happened with Jamie's mom?" The question caught me off guard. Nobody asked about Sarah anymore. Most people knew better. "She left," I said simply. "When Jamie was a year old." "Why?" "Because she didn't want to be a mom, said she wasn't ready, wasn't cut out for it." "That's awful." "It is what it is." "Do you ever hear from her?" "No, she signed away her rights, made it clear she didn't want anything to do with us." Nora looked at Jamie, who was now trying to lick ice cream off his nose. "Her loss." "Yeah," I said. "It is." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Nora said, "You're a good dad, Caleb." "I'm trying." "You're more than trying. Jamie's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have him." She smiled. "You really mean that, don't you?" "Every word." She looked at me for a long moment, something soft in her eyes. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone more broken, I guess. After everything you've been through." "Who says I'm not broken?" "You're still standing. That counts for something." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just finished my ice cream. Tea. That night, after Jamie went to bed, Nora and I ended up on the couch. Not intentionally. It just happened. She was reading a book. I was half watching some forgettable show on TV, and then she laughed. It was quiet, almost to herself, but it made me look over. "What's funny?" I asked. She held up the book. "This character just did something incredibly stupid and is about to pay for it." "Sounds familiar." She raised an eyebrow. "You comparing me to a fictional character? If the shoe fits." She threw a pillow at me. I caught it, grinning. "I'm serious, though," she said. "I've done some incredibly stupid things lately." "Like what?" "Like running away, like showing up at your door, like staying when I should have left." "You think staying is stupid?" She hesitated. "I think it's complicated." "Everything's complicated." "Not for you. You've got your life figured out." I laughed. "Are you kidding?" "I'm making it up as I go. Every single day." "Really?" "Really. Half the time I have no idea what I'm doing. I just do the next thing and hope it works out." She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You hide it well." "Years of practice." She smiled. Then she said, "Can I tell you something?" "Yeah." "I feel safer here than I've felt in years." The words hit me harder than they should have. "Good," I said quietly. "Even with everything falling apart, even with Cameron threatening me and Ryan not speaking to me, I feel like I can breathe here." "You can." "I know." She looked down at her book. "That's what scares me." "Why?" "Because what happens when this ends? When I have to leave and go back to real life?" "Who says you have to leave?" She looked up sharply. "Caleb, I'm serious. You don't have to go anywhere. Not until you're ready." "You don't mean that." "Yes, I do." She stared at me, searching my face for something. I didn't know what. "Why?" she asked finally. "Because you're good for Jamie, and because—" I stopped. "Because what?" I almost said it, almost told her the truth, that she was good for me too, that I was starting to look forward to seeing her in the morning, that the house felt wrong when she wasn't in it. But I couldn't, because that would make this real. And real was dangerous. "Because you deserve a place where you can breathe," I said instead. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. She nodded slowly. "Thank you." "Stop thanking me." "I can't help it." We sat there in comfortable silence, the TV playing quietly in the background. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was just surviving. I felt like I was living. But he's sick. Monday morning, everything went to hell. I was dropping Jamie off at school when I saw him. Cameron, leaning against a black BMW in the parking lot, arms crossed, watching me. My blood went cold. I got Jamie out of the car, my hand on his shoulder. "Go ahead, bud," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I'll be right here." Jamie ran toward the building. I waited until he was inside, then I turned to face Cameron. He was exactly what I expected. Tall, polished, expensive suit. The kind of guy who looked like he'd never had a hard day in his life. "Caleb Hayes," he said, pushing off the car. "That's me." He walked closer. "I'm Cameron Price. I think you know who I am." "I do." "Good. Then this should be easy." He stopped a few feet away. "Where's Nora?" "Not your business." "Actually, it is. She's my fiancée." "Ex-fiancée." His jaw tightened. "Semantics." "Not really." He studied me for a moment. "You know, I looked into you. Single dad. Working 2 jobs. Barely keeping your head above water. Not exactly the kind of guy who should be getting involved in other people's lives." "I'm not involved in anything. Nora came to me. I helped her. End of story." "Is it?" He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to play hero, and that's going to end badly for you." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." He stepped closer. "Nora's confused right now. She's having a breakdown. But she'll come back. She always does. And when she does, I'm going to make sure she remembers exactly who took advantage of her when she was vulnerable." My hands clenched into fists. "I didn't take advantage of anyone. That's not what it's going to look like. Not when my lawyers are done." "You don't scare me." "I should." He tilted his head. "How much do you think a custody battle costs, Caleb? Because I can afford the best lawyers in the state. Can you?" My heart stopped. "That's what I thought," he said, reading my face. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Nora to come home. You're going to stay out of this. And if you do, I'll forget you exist. But if you don't," he leaned in, "I'll bury you." I wanted to hit him, wanted to wipe that smug look off his face. But I didn't, because he was right. He could destroy me, and he knew it. "Stay away from my son," I said quietly. "Then stay away from my fiancée." He turned and walked back to his car. A moment later, he was gone. I stood there, shaking with anger and fear, because I knew he meant every word. When I got home, Nora was in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and froze. "What happened?" Cameron found me. All the color drained from her face. "What?" "He was waiting at Jamie's school. He knows where I live, Nora. He knows everything." "Oh, God." She pressed her hands to her face. "I should have known. I should have—" "He threatened to take Jamie." She looked up sharply. "What?" "He said if I don't stay out of this, he'll go after custody, that he'll bury me in legal fees." "He can't do that. Jamie's your son." "He can try. And he's got the money to make it hell." Nora started pacing. "This is my fault. I never should have come here. I never should have dragged you into this." "Stop." "I'm serious, Caleb. I'm going to leave. Right now. I'll go back to him. I'll fix this." "No." "You don't understand. I said no." I crossed the room, grabbing her by the shoulders. "You're not going back to him. I don't care what he threatens. He'll ruin you." "Then he ruins me. But you're not going back." "Why?" She was crying now, her voice breaking. "Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much?" "Because I stopped. The words caught in my throat. She looked at me, waiting, and I realized I couldn't keep lying. Not to her. Not to myself. "Because I love you," I said. The words came out rough, unpolished. But they were true. Nora went completely still. "What?" "I love you," I said again. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe it's been happening since you showed up at my door, maybe longer, but I can't keep pretending I don't." Tears streamed down her face. "Caleb, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking you to. I just need you to know that you're not alone in this, and I'm not letting you go back to someone who makes you feel like you can't breathe." She stared at me for a long moment, then she kissed me. It wasn't gentle, wasn't careful. It was desperate and raw and real. And when she pulled back, she was still crying. "I love you too," she whispered. "I've loved you for so long, I don't remember what it feels like not to." I pulled her close, holding her like she might disappear if I let go. "Then we'll figure this out," I said. "Together." She nodded against my chest. And for the first time since Cameron showed up, I felt like maybe we actually had a chance. But I knew it wouldn't be easy, because Cameron wasn't going to give up, and neither was Ryan, and the hardest part was still ahead. We stayed like that for a while, wrapped up in each other in the middle of the kitchen. Neither of us saying anything, just breathing, just holding on. When we finally pulled apart, Nora's eyes were red but clear. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We fight back," I said. "We don't let him win." "How? He has lawyers, money, connections, and we have the truth. That has to count for something." She didn't look convinced. "The truth doesn't always win, Caleb." "Then we make it win." She searched my face. "You're serious?" "Completely. This could destroy you, your job, your custody of Jamie, everything." "I know. And you're still willing to risk it?" "For you?" "Yes." She closed her eyes, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. "I don't deserve this." "Stop saying that." "It's true." "No, it's not." I lifted her chin so she had to look at me. "You deserve someone who's going to stand up for you, who's going to fight for you, and that's what I'm doing." "Why?" "Because I love you. I already told you that." "I know, but—" She shook her head. "This is insane. We barely know each other." "I know enough." "Do you?" "Because a week ago you thought I was just Ryan's little sister. And now I know you're more than that. A lot more." She bit her lip. "What if this doesn't work? What if we lose everything and it turns out we're not even—" "Don't," I said. "Don't go there. We'll figure it out, one step at a time." She nodded slowly. "Okay, one step at a time. First step is we need to know what we're dealing with. Cameron made threats, but we need to know if he can actually follow through." "He can," Nora said quietly. "Trust me, if Cameron says he's going to do something, he does it. Then we get ahead of it. We talk to a lawyer. We figure out what our options are. With what money? I'll find it." "Caleb," I said, "I'll find it." I was more determined than I'd ever been about anything. "This isn't negotiable." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay." We spent the rest of the morning researching lawyers online. Most of them charged consultation fees we couldn't afford, but eventually we found one who offered a free initial meeting. I called and made an appointment for Wednesday. It wasn't much, but it was something. When I picked Jamie up from school that afternoon, he was quieter than usual. "You okay, bud?" I asked as we drove home. "Yeah." "You sure? You seem off." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "There was a man at school today. He was asking about you." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What kind of man?" "I don't know. He was in a fancy car. He asked if you were my dad." "What did you say?" I didn't say anything. My teacher told him to leave. Relief flooded through me. Good. That was the right thing to do. "Who was he?" "Nobody important." "Was he a bad man?" I hesitated. I didn't want to scare Jamie, but I also didn't want to lie to him. "He's someone who's causing some problems right now," I said carefully. "But it's nothing for you to worry about. I'm handling it." Jamie was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Is it because of Nora?" "What makes you say that?" "I heard you talking this morning. You sounded upset. I thought we'd been quieter than that." "Apparently not." "Yeah," I admitted, "it's because of Nora, but it's complicated, bud. Adult stuff." "Is Nora in trouble?" "Sort of." "Are you going to help her?" "Yeah, I am." He thought about that. Then he said, "Good. I like her." Something in my chest loosened. "Me too." "Is she going to stay with us?" "I don't know yet. We're figuring it out." "I hope she does." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." When we got home, Nora was pacing the living room, her phone pressed to her ear. She looked up when we walked in, her face pale. "I have to go," she said into the phone. Then she hung up. "Who was that?" I asked. "My mom." She sank onto the couch. "She's been calling all day." I finally answered. "What did she say?" "That I'm breaking her heart, that I'm being selfish, that I need to come home and fix things with Cameron before it's too late." "What did you tell her?" "That I'm not coming home, that I'm sorry, but I can't live the life she wants for me anymore." "How'd she take it?" "About as well as you'd expect." She hung up on me. I sat down next to her. Jamie climbed onto her other side, leaning against her shoulder. She wrapped an arm around him automatically. "I'm sorry," I said. "It's not your fault." "Still?" She looked down at Jamie. "How was school?" "Good," he said. "We learned about fractions." "Yeah? What's a fraction?" "It's like when you cut a pizza into pieces." That's exactly right. They started talking about pizza and fractions, and I watched them together, my son curled up against this woman who'd walked into our lives barely a week ago. It should have felt strange, should have felt too fast, too much. But it didn't. It felt right. That night, after Jamie went to bed, Nora and I sat on the porch again. It was becoming our spot, the place where we could talk without worrying about little ears overhearing. "Cameron called me today too," she said. I looked at her sharply. "When?" "This afternoon, while you were picking up Jamie." "What did he say?" "That he's giving me one more chance to come back. That if I don't, he's going to make sure I regret it." "Did he say how?" "He didn't have to. I know how his mind works. He'll go after you. He'll try to prove you're an unfit parent. He'll dig up every mistake you've ever made and use it against you. Let him try. You don't understand how ruthless he is, Caleb. He doesn't care who he hurts as long as he gets what he wants." "And what does he want? You?" "No," she said quietly. "He wants to win. That's all he's ever cared about, winning. Then we make sure he loses." She looked at me. "You really think we can do that?" "I know we can." "How?" "Because we have something he doesn't." "What?" "The truth and each other." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That sounds nice, but the truth doesn't pay for lawyers, and caring about each other doesn't stop him from destroying your life." "Maybe not, but it's a start." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm scared." "Me too." "Really?" "Yeah. I'm terrified, but I'm not backing down." "Why not?" "Because some things are worth fighting for." She lifted her head, looking at me. "Is that what I am to you? Worth fighting for?" "Yes." She kissed me then, soft and slow and full of something that felt like hope. When she pulled back, she whispered, "I don't know what I did to deserve you. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to show up." The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. It was barely 6. I grabbed it, groggy and disoriented. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but I knew if I didn't, he'd just keep calling. "Hello?" "We need to talk." His voice was tight, controlled, angry. "Okay." "Not on the phone. In person." "When?" "Now. I'm outside." I sat up. "What?" "I'm parked across the street. Get out here." He hung up. I got dressed quickly and went outside. Sure enough, Ryan's truck was parked on the other side of the road. He was leaning against it, arms crossed. I walked over. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Cameron called me yesterday," he said. "Told me some interesting things about you and my sister." My stomach dropped. "Ryan, is it true? Are you sleeping with her?" "No. Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying. We're not sleeping together." "But you want to." I didn't answer. "That's what I thought." He pushed off the truck. "What the hell are you thinking, Caleb? She's 24. She just left her fiancé. She's a mess right now, and you're taking advantage of that." "I'm not taking advantage of anyone." "Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you saw an opportunity, and you took it." "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen? Explain it to me. Because right now, all I see is my best friend screwing around with my little sister while she's at her lowest point." "I love her," I said. Ryan went still. "What?" "I love her. That's what happened. She came here and I tried to keep my distance. I really did. But I can't. Because I'm in love with her. You've known her for a week. I've known her for years, Ryan. We both have. I just never saw her the way I do now. This is insane. Maybe. But it's the truth." He stared at me. "You're really doing this. You're really choosing her over me." "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone, but yeah, I'm with her, and I'm not apologizing for it. Even if it costs you everything?" "Even then." Ryan shook his head. "Cameron's going to destroy you. You know that, right? He can try. He will. And when he does, don't come crying to me." "I won't." He looked at me for a long moment, then he got in his truck and drove away. I stood there in the street, watching him go, feeling like I'd just lost something I could never get back. When I went back inside, Nora was standing in the hallway. She'd heard everything. "I'm sorry," she said. "Don't be. He's your best friend, Caleb, and now he hates you because of me." "He doesn't hate me. He's just angry. He'll come around." "What if he doesn't?" "Then he doesn't. But I'm not going to regret this. Any of it." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't, just wrapped her arms around me and held on tight. That afternoon, I got a call from my boss. "Caleb, we need to talk," he said. "About what?" "Just come to my office. Now." I felt a knot form in my stomach. "I'm on my way." When I got there, my boss was sitting behind his desk, looking uncomfortable. "Have a seat," he said. I sat. "I got a call this morning," he said, "from a lawyer representing Cameron Price." My blood went cold. "What did they want?" "They're making some accusations. About you. About your conduct." "What kind of accusations?" "They're saying you're involved in a relationship with a woman who's vulnerable and unstable. They're saying it raises questions about your judgment." "That's not true." "Is the woman staying at your house?" I hesitated. "Yes." "And are you involved with her?" "Yes." "But it's not what they're making it sound like." My boss sighed. "Caleb, I don't care about your personal life, but I do care when it starts affecting your work. And right now, this is a distraction we can't afford." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to take some time off. Get this sorted out. And when you come back, we'll talk about your future here." "You're suspending me?" "I'm giving you leave, paid leave, for now." "For now?" He looked uncomfortable. "Look, I like you, Caleb. You're a good worker. But if this gets messy, if there's any kind of legal action, I can't have you here. You understand that, right?" I understood perfectly. Cameron was making good on his threats. "Yeah," I said. "I understand." I left the office feeling like the walls were closing in. When I got home, Nora took one look at my face and knew. "What happened?" I told her. She sank onto the couch, her face in her hands. "This is all my fault." "Stop saying that." "It's true. If I hadn't come here, if I hadn't dragged you into this, I'm glad you came here." "How can you say that? You just lost your job because of me." "I didn't lose it. I'm on leave. For now." "But you will lose it. And then what? How are you going to support Jamie?" "I'll figure it out." "With what? Hope? If that's what it takes." She looked at me like I was crazy. "You can't just hope your way through this, Caleb. This is real. This is your life." "I know that." "Then why are you still acting like this is going to work out?" "Because the alternative is giving up, and I'm not doing that." She stood up, pacing. "Maybe I should just go back to him, end this before it gets worse." "No." "Caleb." I said no. You're not going back to him. We're going to fight this." "How? We can't afford a lawyer. You don't have a job. Cameron has all the power and we have nothing. We have each other. That's not enough." Her voice cracked on the last word. She was crying now, really crying, and I could see the fear in her eyes, the doubt, the belief that this was all falling apart and there was nothing we could do to stop it. I crossed the room and took her by the shoulders. "Listen to me," I said. "I know this is scary. I know it feels like we're drowning, but we're not done yet. We're going to see that lawyer tomorrow. We're going to figure out our options, and we're going to find a way through this, together." "You don't know that." "No, I don't. But I believe it. And I need you to believe it too." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "What if we lose?" "Then we lose. But at least we'll lose fighting for something real." She collapsed against me, sobbing into my chest, and I held her, promising myself that I wasn't going to let Cameron win, no matter what it cost. The lawyer's office was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a nail salon. Not exactly inspiring confidence, but when we walked in, the woman behind the desk greeted us warmly. "You must be Caleb and Nora," she said. "I'm Linda Chen. Come on back." We followed her into a small office. She gestured for us to sit. "So," she said, pulling out a legal pad, "tell me what's going on." I told her everything. About Nora leaving Cameron, about her staying with me, about Cameron's threats. Linda listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she set down her pen. Okay, she said. Here's the situation. Cameron can threaten all he wants, but actually taking Jamie from you is a lot harder than he's making it sound. You're the biological father. You have full custody. There's no history of abuse or neglect. A judge isn't going to take your son away just because Cameron Price wants them to. Relief flooded through me. So he's bluffing. Partially, but he can still make your life difficult. He can file frivolous lawsuits. He can drag you through court. He can cost you time and money you don't have. That's what he's counting on, that you'll give up before it gets to trial. I'm not giving up. Good, but you need to be prepared. This could get expensive and messy. How expensive? She named a figure that made my stomach drop. I don't have that kind of money, I said. I know. That's the problem. Cameron does. He can afford to drag this out as long as he wants. You can't. So what do we do? Linda leaned back in her chair. We play smart. We don't engage unless we have to. We document everything. We build a case showing that you're a stable, loving parent and that Nora is here by choice, not coercion. And we hope Cameron gets bored and moves on. You think he will? Men like Cameron usually do. They're bullies. And bullies lose interest when their targets don't react. And if he doesn't, then we fight, and we make it as expensive and embarrassing for him as possible. Nora spoke for the first time. What about me? Can he force me to go back? No, Linda said firmly. You're an adult. You can live wherever you want. He has no legal claim on you. He said he'd ruin me if I didn't come back. Let him try. The worst he can do is make things uncomfortable, but he can't actually force you to do anything. Some of the tension left Nora's shoulders. What do we do now? I asked. Now you go home. You live your lives. You don't engage with Cameron unless you absolutely have to. And you call me if anything changes. We thanked her and left. In the car, Nora was quiet. You okay? I asked. I don't know. Part of me feels better, but part of me is still terrified. That's normal. Is it? Yeah, this is scary, but at least now we know what we're dealing with. She nodded. I just wish it didn't have to be like this. Me too. That night, Jamie asked if he could sleep in my room. He did that sometimes when he was anxious. Sure, bud, I said. Bad dreams? No. I just want to be near you. He climbed into bed next to me, curling up against my side. Dad, he said after a while. Yeah? Is everything going to be okay? I wanted to say yes. Wanted to promise him that everything would work out. But I couldn't lie to him. I don't know, I said honestly, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it is. Okay? He fell asleep a few minutes later, his breathing slow and steady. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell I was going to keep that promise. The next morning, everything exploded. I woke up to pounding on the door. Aggressive, insistent pounding. I stumbled out of bed, Jamie still asleep. It was barely 7. I opened the door. Cameron was standing there. And he wasn't alone. Behind him was a sheriff's deputy. Caleb Hayes, the deputy said. Yeah. I have a temporary restraining order here. You're required to stay at least 500 feet away from Cameron Price at all times. He handed me a piece of paper. I stared at it, not understanding. What? Why? He's filed a harassment complaint, the deputy said. Says you've been threatening him. That's not true. I've barely even spoken to him. Cameron smiled. You approached me at the school. You were aggressive. I felt threatened. That's a lie. It's in the report, the deputy said. Look, I'm just here to serve the order. If you have a problem with it, you can contest it in court. This is insane. Maybe. But for now, you need to stay away from him. Understood? I nodded, too stunned to argue. The deputy left. Cameron stayed. You should have listened when I gave you the chance, he said. Now it's too late. What do you want? I want Nora, and I want you out of the picture. She's not going back to you. We'll see about that. He turned and walked away. I stood there, the restraining order in my hand, feeling like I'd just been hit by a truck. Nora appeared in the hallway. What's going on? I showed her the paper. She read it, her face going pale. He's insane. He's smart. He's boxing us in. What do we do? We call Linda, right now. But before I could dial, my phone rang. It was Ryan. What now? I said, answering. I heard what Cameron did, Ryan said. His voice was different, less angry, more concerned. Is it true? Yeah. That's bullshit. I know. There was a pause. Then Ryan said, I'm sorry. I froze. What? I said I'm sorry. I've been acting like an ass. I was angry, and I took it out on you. But Cameron's going too far, and I can't just stand by and let him destroy you. Ryan, I'm not saying I'm okay with you and Nora. I'm not. But you're still my best friend. And if he's coming after you like this, then we need to figure this out, together. Something in my chest loosened. Okay, I said. Together. I'm coming over, he said. We need to talk, all three of us. He hung up. I looked at Nora. Ryan's coming. Her eyes went wide. Now? Yeah. Is he still angry? I don't think so. I think he wants to help. She looked uncertain. Are you sure? No, but it's Ryan. We have to give him a chance. 20 minutes later, Ryan was sitting at my kitchen table. Nora sat across from him, tense and quiet. I'm not here to yell, Ryan said. I'm here to listen, and to help if I can. Nora looked at him cautiously. Really? Really? I don't like this situation. I don't like that my sister is dating my best friend, but I like Cameron Price even less, and if he's threatening you two, then he's crossed a line. He filed a restraining order against Caleb, Nora said. I heard. That's garbage, and everyone knows it. So what do we do? I asked. Ryan leaned forward. We expose him. We show everyone what kind of person he really is. We make it so embarrassing for him to keep this up that he has no choice but to back off. How do we do that? We start by gathering evidence. Everything he's ever done to you, Nora. Every controlling thing. Every threat. We document it all. And then we make it public. Nora looked uncertain. That could backfire. He has lawyers. And we have the truth, Ryan said. Look, I know a few reporters. People who'd be interested in a story about a rich guy abusing his power to harass his ex-fiancée. We leak it to them. Let the court of public opinion do the rest. That's risky, I said. Everything's risky right now, but doing nothing is riskier. I looked at Nora. What do you think? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, let's do it. Ryan pulled out his phone and started typing. I'm texting Marcus. He's an investigative journalist I know from college. If anyone can run with this story, it's him. Nora wrapped her arms around herself. What if this makes Cameron angrier? What if he comes after Caleb harder? He's already coming after Caleb as hard as he can, Ryan said, not looking up from his phone. A restraining order based on lies? He's not holding back, so we don't either. I watched Ryan work, still trying to process that he was here, helping us. 24 hours ago, he'd been ready to write me off completely. Now he was strategizing our counterattack. Why the change of heart? I asked. He looked up. What? Yesterday you told me not to come crying to you when this blew up. Now you're here. Ryan set his phone down. I talked to Mom last night. She told me what Nora said to her on the phone, about not being able to breathe, about feeling like her whole life was someone else's script. He looked at his sister. And I realized I've been doing the same thing Cameron was doing, trying to control you, trying to tell you what your life should look like. Nora's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Ryan said. I should have listened, should have asked what you wanted instead of assuming I knew better. You were just trying to protect me. Yeah, but from the wrong thing. I was so worried about you getting hurt that I didn't see you were already hurting, that the life everyone thought was perfect was actually suffocating you. She wiped her eyes. I wanted to tell you. So many times. But I didn't know how. I should have made it easier for you to talk to me. Instead, I made you feel like you had to run away in the middle of the night. He paused. That's on me. They looked at each other across the table, years of unspoken things passing between them. Then Nora stood up and hugged him. Ryan held her tight. I'm still not thrilled about you and Caleb, he said. But if he makes you happy, if he's what you want, then I'm not going to stand in the way. He does make me happy, she said quietly. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Ryan looked at me over her shoulder. You hurt her. I'll kill you. Fair enough, I said. His phone buzzed. He checked it. Marcus wants to meet. Today, if possible. Where? I asked. There's a coffee shop downtown, 2 o'clock work for you guys? Nora and I nodded. Good. I'll set it up. Ryan stood. In the meantime, write down everything. Every text Cameron sent you, Nora. Every time he tracked your phone or showed up somewhere unexpected. Every threat, every manipulation, everything. We need a timeline. Okay, Nora said. After Ryan left, Nora and I sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She pulled up old text messages, emails, screenshots she'd saved. I watched as months of communication scrolled past. Most of it looked normal on the surface. But when you read between the lines, the pattern was clear. Where are you? You said you'd be home by 6. It's 6:15. I don't like you spending so much time with those friends. They're a bad influence. Cancel your plans Saturday. My mother wants us for dinner. You're overreacting. I'm just trying to help you make better decisions. Each message was small. Individually, they could be explained away. But together, they painted a picture of someone who needed to control everything. How long was it like this? I asked. From the beginning, Nora said quietly. I just didn't see it at first. He was so charming when we met, so attentive. I thought it was romantic that he wanted to spend all his time with me, that he had opinions about what I wore and who I hung out with. When did you realize it wasn't romantic? About 6 months in, I wanted to visit Ryan for his birthday. Cameron said he'd already planned a weekend trip for us, and I should just call Ryan instead. I said no, I was going to see my brother. And Cameron... She stopped. What did he do? He didn't yell. Just got really quiet. Told me I was being selfish, that he'd put all this effort into planning something special and I was throwing it in his face. Made me feel so guilty that I ended up canceling on Ryan. She looked at me. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I convinced myself I was being difficult. That compromise was part of relationships. That's not compromise, that's manipulation. I know that now. But when you're in it, when someone's telling you that you're the problem, it's hard to see clearly. I reached across the table and took her hand. You're out now. That's what matters. Am I? Because it feels like he's still controlling everything. He got you suspended from work. He filed a fake restraining order. He's threatening to take Jamie. I left him, but he's still running my life. Not for long, I said. We're about to change that. At 2 o'clock, we walked into the coffee shop. Ryan was already there, sitting at a corner table with a guy in his mid-30s. Glasses, rumpled jacket, notebook open in front of him. He looked exactly like what you'd picture if someone said, investigative journalist. Marcus, this is Caleb and Nora, Ryan said. Guys, this is Marcus Chen. We shook hands and sat down. Marcus didn't waste time with small talk. Ryan gave me the basics. Rich guy harassing his ex-fiancée and her new boyfriend. Is that accurate? Pretty much, I said. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Nora did. She told him about meeting Cameron, about the engagement, about how slowly the control had tightened until she couldn't see a way out. She told him about running, about showing up at my door, about Cameron's threats. Marcus took notes the entire time, occasionally asking questions. Did he ever physically hurt you? He asked. No, he was too smart for that. It was all emotional, psychological. Witnesses to any of this? My friends saw some of it, but I made excuses, defended him. I don't know if they'd be willing to go on record. What about the restraining order? You said it's based on false claims? Completely false, I said. I spoke to him once at my son's school. He approached me. I never threatened him. Any witnesses to that conversation? No, it was just the two of us in the parking lot. Marcus made another note. That's a problem. It's your word against his, and he's got money and lawyers. So what do we do? Ryan asked. We need more. We need something concrete that shows a pattern of behavior. Ideally, we need him to incriminate himself. How do we do that? Nora asked. Marcus leaned back. You talk to him with a recording device. Nora's face went pale. Absolutely not. Hear me out. He calls you all the time, right? Texts you. What if next time he does, you answer? You let him talk, you ask questions, and you record the whole thing. He's not stupid. He's not going to admit to anything illegal. He doesn't have to. We just need him to sound threatening, controlling, obsessive. Something that backs up your story and contradicts his nice guy public image. This is a bad idea, I said. It's a calculated risk, Marcus corrected, But it's the fastest way to get leverage. Right now, he's controlling the narrative. This gives you a chance to flip the script. Nora looked at me. What do you think? I think it's dangerous. What if he figures out what you're doing? Then we don't get the recording, but we're not worse off than we are now. She was right. We weren't worse off. But the thought of her talking to Cameron, even on the phone, made my stomach turn. You don't have to do this, I said. Yes, I do. Because if I don't, he wins. And I'm done letting him win. Marcus pulled out his phone. California is a two-party consent state for recordings, which means technically both parties need to agree to being recorded. But there are exceptions for documenting harassment or threats. As long as you're recording for your own protection and not planning to distribute it publicly, you're in a gray area. A gray area isn't reassuring, I said. Nothing about this is reassuring, but it's the best option you've got. Nora took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. Not today, Marcus said. We need to prepare. I'll write up some questions you should try to work into the conversation. Things that might get him to reveal his mindset. You practice with them. And when you feel ready, you make the call. We spent the next hour planning. Marcus was thorough, professional. By the time we left, Nora had a list of questions and scenarios to practice. You sure about this? I asked her on the drive home. No, but I'm doing it anyway. That night we practiced. I played Cameron, reading from a script Marcus had provided. Nora asked questions, trying to sound natural. It was harder than it looked. You sound nervous, I said after the third run-through. I am nervous. He'll hear it. He'll know something's up. So what do I do? I don't know, maybe just be honest. Tell him you're nervous. Use it. We tried again. This time, when Nora's voice shook, she didn't hide it. She leaned into it. Made it sound like she was struggling with her decision to leave, like she was conflicted. It worked better. That's good, I said. He'll think he's winning, that you're about to come back. What if he actually convinces me? She said quietly. What? What if I hear his voice and I remember all the reasons I stayed? What if I'm not as strong as I think I am? I pulled her close. You are. I've seen it. You left him, Nora. You walked away from everything familiar because you knew it was wrong. That takes more strength than most people ever find. I'm scared. I know, but you're not alone. I'm right here. She nodded against my chest. The next morning, Cameron called. Nora stared at her phone, frozen. You don't have to answer, I said. Yes, I do. She hit record on the app Marcus had recommended, then answered. Hello? Nora? Cameron's voice was smooth, controlled. I've been trying to reach you. I know. I've been busy. Too busy to talk to me? We don't have anything to talk about. I disagree. I think we have a lot to talk about, like why you're throwing away everything we built together. We didn't build anything, Cameron. You built something, and I just lived in it. He laughed. Is that what he's telling you, your new boyfriend? This has nothing to do with Caleb. Really? Because from where I'm standing, it has everything to do with him. You were fine until he got in your head. I wasn't fine. I was miserable. I just didn't know how to leave. Because there was nothing to leave. You were happy, Nora. We were good together. No, we weren't. You controlled everything, what I wore, where I went, who I saw. That's not love, Cameron. I was protecting you. From what? From making stupid decisions, like the one you're making right now. Nora's hand was shaking, but her voice stayed steady. I'm done with this conversation. No, you're not, because you know I'm right. You know you're going to regret this. And when you do, when you realize that guy can't give you the life I can, you're going to come crawling back, and I might not be there. Good. Don't be. You think I'm bluffing? I can move on, Nora. I can find someone better than you in a heartbeat. Then do it. But I won't. You know why? Because I love you. Despite everything, despite you humiliating me, I still love you. And I'm willing to forgive you if you come home right now. I'm not coming home. Then you're making a mistake, and I'm done protecting you from the consequences. What does that mean? It means your little boyfriend is about to find out what happens when you cross me. I've already gotten him suspended from his job. That's just the beginning. You can't do that. I already did. And I'm not stopping. I'm going to make his life so miserable, he'll beg you to leave. Cameron, and if that doesn't work, I'll go after his kid. I'll prove he's unfit. I'll make sure he loses custody. You wouldn't. Try me. All you have to do to stop it is come back. Simple choice, Nora. Him or me. I choose him. The line went dead. Nora lowered the phone, her whole body shaking. You did it, I said. You got him. He threatened Jamie. He actually threatened to take your son. I know, and now we have proof. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. I never should have brought this to your door. Stop. You didn't bring anything. Cameron did this, not you. I sent the recording to Marcus. 20 minutes later, he called back. This is good, he said. Really good. He admits to getting Caleb suspended. He threatens to go after custody. He tries to coerce Nora into coming back. It's textbook harassment. So what now? I asked. Now I write the story. I'll have it ready by tomorrow. Once it goes live, the public pressure should make it too expensive for Cameron to keep this up. You think it'll work? I think it's your best shot. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, playing out every possible scenario in my head. What if the article backfired? What if Cameron doubled down? What if this made everything worse? Around midnight, Nora knocked on my door. Can't sleep either? She asked. No. Can I come in? I nodded. She climbed into bed next to me, fully clothed, just needing to be close to someone. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me, for fighting when it would have been easier to walk away. I couldn't walk away, not from you. She turned to face me. Why not? Because when you showed up at my door that night, something changed. I don't know how to explain it, but you made me feel something I haven't felt in years. What? Awake, like I'd been sleepwalking through my life and suddenly I was conscious again. She kissed me, slow and deep and full of everything we couldn't say out loud. When she pulled back, she whispered, I love you. I love you too. We fell asleep like that, tangled up in each other, holding on tight. The article went live the next afternoon. Marcus had titled it, When Love Becomes Control, One Woman's Escape from Coercive Relationship. He'd written it carefully, legally sound, focusing on the pattern of behavior rather than specific accusations. He'd included quotes from the recording, from Nora's timeline, from me. Within hours, it was everywhere. My phone started blowing up. Friends I hadn't heard from in years reaching out to ask if I was okay. Acquaintances from Jamie's school sending supportive messages. Even a few strangers who'd read the article and wanted to share their own stories. But it was the calls from reporters that made me nervous. Mr. Hayes, this is Jennifer Park from Channel 7 News. We'd love to interview you about the Cameron Price situation. Caleb, this is David Wu from the Metro Daily. Do you have time to answer a few questions? I ignored them all. Nora handled it differently. She answered when Marcus called. It's blowing up, he said. Bigger than I expected. People are angry. Cameron's company is getting flooded with complaints. His social media is getting destroyed. This is working. What about Cameron? She asked. Has he responded? His PR team put out a statement saying the article is full of lies and they're considering legal action. But that's just posturing. They won't sue. Too much risk of discovery. So it's over? Not yet, but we're winning. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Caleb Hayes? Yeah. This is Stephen Harper. I'm Cameron Price's attorney. My stomach dropped. What do you want? I'm calling to inform you that my client is prepared to drop all current legal actions against you, including the restraining order, on one condition. What condition? You and Nora Bennett issue a public statement retracting the claims made in today's article and apologizing for the damage to Mr. Price's reputation. Not happening. Mr. Hayes, you heard me. We're not retracting anything. Everything in that article is true. If you refuse, my client will have no choice but to pursue further legal action. That includes a defamation suit and a renewed effort to prove you're an unfit parent. Let him try. We have the recording. We have evidence. The only person who's going to look bad in court is Cameron. There was a pause. Then the lawyer said, You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. I hung up. Nora was watching me from the couch. What did they want? They want us to retract the article and apologize. And you said? No. She smiled. Actually smiled. Good. Over the next few days, the pressure kept building. More articles came out, picking up on Marcus's story. A women's advocacy group released a statement supporting Nora. Cameron's company issued another denial, but the damage was done. And then Ryan called. Mom wants to see you, he said. Both of us? I asked. Yeah, she says it's important. We drove to Ryan and Nora's childhood home that evening. Their mother answered the door. She looked older than I remembered, tired. Come in, she said. We sat in the living room. It was awkward, tense. Mrs. Bennett poured tea that nobody drank. I owe you an apology, she said finally, looking at Nora. When you called me, when you said you'd left Cameron, I didn't listen. I told you to go back, to fix it. I thought you were just having cold feet. Mom, let me finish. I was wrong. I read that article, I heard the recording, and I realized I'd been so focused on the wedding, on what I thought your life should look like, that I didn't see what was actually happening to you. Nora's eyes filled with tears. You tried to tell me, Mrs. Bennett continued, so many times, and I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Nora crossed the room and hugged her mother. Mrs. Bennett looked at me over Nora's shoulder. Take care of her. I will, I said. Ryan says you're a good man, that you're good with your son. That's what matters. It wasn't quite a blessing, but it was close enough. That weekend, everything finally broke. Cameron's company put out a statement that he was taking a leave of absence to focus on personal matters. His Instagram went private. The restraining order was quietly withdrawn. Marcus called to tell us that his sources said Cameron had left the state. Where'd he go? I asked. No idea. But he's gone. At least for now. Nora exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. It's really over? Looks like it. That night we celebrated. Ryan came over with pizza. We sat around the living room, Jamie playing with his toys, the adults finally able to relax. I can't believe it worked, Nora said. I can, Ryan said. Guys like Cameron rely on people being too scared to fight back. Once you did, he had nothing. We had help, I said, looking at him. Couldn't have done it without you. Ryan shrugged. That's what family does. Nora smiled. Family. I like the sound of that. Later, after Ryan left and Jamie was in bed, Nora and I sat on the porch. What now? She asked. What do you mean? Cameron's gone. The crisis is over. What happens next? I don't know. What do you want to happen? She looked at me. I want to stay. Here. With you and Jamie, if you'll have me. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I pulled her close. Then stay. Just like that? Just like that. She rested her head on my shoulder. I should probably get a job. Find my own place eventually. Figure out what I'm actually doing with my life. You don't have to rush. Take your time. Figure out what you want. I already know what I want. Yeah? This, you, Jamie, a life that's actually mine. You've got it. We sat there in the quiet, the worst finally behind us, the future uncertain, but ours to build. And for the first time since she'd knocked on my door that rainy night, everything felt possible. 3 weeks later, I went back to work. My boss called me into his office on my first day back, looking uncomfortable. About what happened, he started. It's fine, I said. I understand why you had to put me on leave. Still, I should have asked more questions. Should have known Cameron Price was full of it. You were protecting the company. I get it. He nodded. Anyway, you're back. Full pay for the time you missed. And if you need anything, let me know. It wasn't an apology exactly, but it was close enough. Life started settling into a rhythm. Nora found a job at a bookstore downtown. It didn't pay much, but she loved it. She'd come home smelling like coffee and paper, talking about the customers she'd helped and the books she'd recommended. I forgot what it felt like to actually enjoy going to work, she said one night. What was it like before, I asked, suffocating. Cameron wanted me to work at his company, said it would be good for us to build something together, but really he just wanted to keep an eye on me all day. You never told him no? I tried, once. He said if I didn't want to work with him, maybe I shouldn't work at all. that he made enough for both of us. She shook her head. I should have seen it then. Should have run. You're here now. That's what matters. She smiled. Yeah, I am. Jamie had fully accepted Nora as part of our lives. He didn't ask when she was leaving anymore, just assumed she'd be there when he got home from school, helping with homework or playing whatever game he'd invented that day. One afternoon, I came home early and found them in the backyard. Jamie had set up an elaborate obstacle course using lawn chairs, hula hoops, and what looked like every pillow in the house. What's happening here? I asked. Nora's training for the Olympics, Jamie announced. The Olympics? He decided I need to be in better shape, Nora said, laughing as she crawled under a chair. So he designed a training program. Very thorough, I said. I'm a good coach, Jamie said seriously. I watched them together, something warm settling in my chest. This was what I'd been missing all these years. Not just someone to help with Jamie, but someone who genuinely wanted to be there, who showed up not out of obligation, but because she chose to. That night, after Jamie went to bed, Nora and I talked about the future for the first time in a real way. I've been thinking, she said, about getting my own place eventually. My stomach dropped. You want to leave? No, that's not what I mean. I just don't want you to feel like I'm taking advantage. Living here rent-free, eating your food, you're not taking advantage. You help with bills. You cook half the meals. You're basically raising Jamie with me at this point. I know, but what? She looked down at her hands. I don't want you to wake up one day and resent me for being here. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. Yes, I do. I moved closer. Nora, you being here isn't a burden. It's not temporary. At least, I don't want it to be. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you to stay. Not just for now, for as long as you want. And if you want to contribute more, we can figure that out. But don't leave because you think that's what I want. She looked at me, searching my face. You really mean that? Every word. She kissed me then, soft and certain. When she pulled back, she was smiling. Okay, I'll stay. Good. But I'm getting a better job. That bookstore pays nothing. Whatever you want. Things with Ryan improved slowly. He still wasn't completely comfortable with me and Nora together, but he was trying. He'd come over for dinner once a week, hang out with Jamie, make an effort to see Nora as an adult instead of his kid sister. One Saturday, while Nora took Jamie to the park, Ryan and I sat on the porch with beers. Can I ask you something? He said. Yeah. Do you ever think about Jamie's mom? About what would have happened if she'd stayed? The question caught me off guard. Sometimes, why? I don't know. I just wonder if you would have been happy, or if you would have spent your whole life trying to make something work that was never going to. Probably the second thing. That's what I thought. He took a drink. I think that's what would have happened with Nora and Cameron. Even if she'd married him, even if she'd tried to make it work, eventually it would have broken her, and then we would have lost her completely. You almost lost her anyway. I know. That's what scares me, how close we came. He looked at me. You saved her. You know that, right? I didn't save anyone. She saved herself. Maybe, but you gave her somewhere safe to land. That matters. We sat in silence for a while, watching cars pass on the street. For what it's worth, Ryan said, I'm glad she picked you. Yeah? Yeah, you're a pain in my ass, but you're a good guy, and you make her happy. I can see it. She makes me happy, too. I know. That's the only reason I'm okay with this. He grinned. Well, that and the fact that if I wasn't okay with it, she'd probably never speak to me again. Probably. She's stubborn. Runs in the family. He laughed. Fair point. 2 months after Cameron left, Nora's parents invited us over for Sunday dinner. All of us. Me, Jamie, Ryan. Like we were an actual family. Mrs. Bennett had cooked enough food for an army. Jamie sat between Nora and Ryan, talking nonstop about school. Mr. Bennett asked me about work, about Jamie's soccer season, about normal things. It felt strange. Good strange. Like something had shifted and everyone had decided to stop fighting it. After dinner, while Nora helped her mom with dishes, Mr. Bennett pulled me aside. I want to apologize, he said. For what? For not seeing what was happening with Cameron, for pushing Nora towards something that was hurting her. You didn't know. I should have. A father should pay better attention. He paused. Ryan says you're good to her, that you're steady. I try to be. That's all anyone can ask. He put a hand on my shoulder. Take care of my girl. I will. It wasn't easy building a life together. There were arguments about money, about Jamie's schedule, about whose turn it was to do laundry. Normal relationship stuff that felt enormous when we were in the middle of it. One night we had a huge fight about Jamie's bedtime. Nora thought 8 was too early. I thought it was fine. We went back and forth, voices getting louder, until finally I said something I regretted. He's my son. I know what's best for him. Nora went quiet. Then she said, You're right. He's your son, not mine. I should have stayed in my lane. She went to the guest room, closed the door. I stood in the hallway, feeling like an idiot. 20 minutes later, I knocked. Come in, she said quietly. She was sitting on the bed, eyes red. I'm sorry, I said. That was a shitty thing to say. It was true, though. No, it wasn't. You're not just some person living here. You're part of this family. You have a say in how things work. I was just being defensive. I don't want to overstep. You're not overstepping. You care about Jamie. That's a good thing. I shouldn't have made you feel bad about it. She wiped her eyes. I'm scared of messing this up. Me too. Really? All the time. I'm terrified I'm going to do something that makes you realize this was a mistake. This isn't a mistake. Then we're on the same page. She laughed through her tears. We're both disasters. Perfectly matched disasters. She pulled me down onto the bed next to her. For the record, I think 8 is a fine bedtime. For the record, I think you should have a say in Jamie's schedule. Okay. We lay there in the dark, holding hands, working through it the way people do when they're actually trying. 4 months in, Nora got a better job. Marketing coordinator at a small firm downtown. Better pay, actual benefits, work that challenged her. I forgot I was good at things, she said after her first week. Cameron made me feel like I couldn't do anything right, but I'm actually competent. Who knew? I knew. You're biased. Doesn't make it less true. She started bringing home ideas for campaigns, talking through strategies at dinner. Jamie would listen, fascinated, even though he probably understood about 10% of what she was saying. When I grow up, I want to do marketing, he announced one night. Yeah? Nora said. Why's that? Because you make it sound cool, she beamed. Watching her come back to life was like watching a plant that had been kept in the dark finally get sunlight. She smiled more, laughed easier, stopped looking over her shoulder every time her phone buzzed. Cameron never came back. According to Marcus, he'd moved to New York, started over somewhere his reputation hadn't been destroyed. We didn't talk about him much, just moved forward. 6 months after Nora first knocked on my door, I realized something. I wanted to marry her. Not because it made sense, not because we'd been together long enough to justify it, but because I couldn't imagine my life without her in it. Because she'd become the center of everything. Because when I thought about the future, she was in every single version of it. I didn't have a ring, didn't have a plan, just had the certainty. I talked to Ryan first. You're going to propose? He said. Yeah, if you're okay with it. Why wouldn't I be? She's your sister, and you're my best friend, and you love each other. Why would I have a problem with it? I don't know. Felt like I should ask. He laughed. This isn't the 1800s. You don't need my permission. But for what it's worth, you have it. My blessing. Whatever you want to call it. Thanks. Just don't screw it up. I'll try. I told Jamie next. We were sitting in his room, building with Legos. Bud, can I ask you something? Sure. How would you feel if Nora stayed with us forever? Like, officially became part of our family? He looked up from the Legos. Would she be my mom? If she wanted to be. And if you wanted her to be. He thought about it. Would she leave like my other mom did? The question hit me hard. No, she wouldn't. She's not going anywhere. How do you know? Because she chooses to be here every single day. She's not here because she has to be. She's here because she wants to be. Okay, he said. Then, yeah, I want her to stay. Yeah? Yeah, she's nice, and she's good at Legos. I laughed. Those are important qualities. The most important. I spent a week looking at rings. Everything was either too expensive or too generic. Nothing felt right. Then I remembered something. Years ago, my grandmother had given me her wedding ring before she died. Said to save it for someone special. I'd put it in a box and forgotten about it. I dug through my closet until I found it. A simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing fancy, but it had been worn by someone who'd been married for 53 years. Someone who'd actually made it work. That felt right. I didn't plan some elaborate proposal, didn't rent out a restaurant or hire photographers. Just waited for the right moment. It came on a random Sunday afternoon. We'd taken Jamie to the park. He was playing on the swings. Nora and I were sitting on a bench watching him. "This is nice," she said. "Yeah. I mean it. This whole thing. Us. I never thought I'd have something this simple and be this happy. Simple's underrated." "Agreed." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you." "For what?" "For letting me in. For not giving up when things got hard. For loving me even when I was a mess." "You were never a mess. You were just figuring things out." "I'm still figuring things out." "Me too. We can figure it out together." She smiled. I like the sound of that. And that's when I knew. I stood up. She looked at me confused. "What are you doing?" I pulled the ring out of my pocket, didn't get down on one knee, just held it out. "Marry me," I said. Her eyes went wide. "What?" "I don't have a speech prepared. I'm not good at speeches. But I know I love you. I know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I know I want to build something real with you. So marry me." She stared at the ring, then at me, then back at the ring. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "I've never been more sure of anything. We've only been together 6 months. I don't care. People will say we're rushing. Let them. This is crazy." "Probably, but that's never stopped us before." She laughed. Then she started crying. "Yes." "Yeah?" "Yes, of course, yes." I slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Jamie ran over. "Why's Nora crying? Is she sad?" "No, bud," I said. "She's happy." "Then why is she crying?" "Because sometimes when you're really happy, you cry." He looked skeptical, but shrugged. "Okay, can we get ice cream now?" "Absolutely." We got ice cream. We called Ryan and told him. We called Nora's parents. Everyone was happy, or at least pretended to be. That night, after Jamie went to bed, Nora and I sat on the porch. "I can't believe we're doing this," she said, looking at the ring. "Having second thoughts?" "No, just shocked that this is my life now. 6 months ago, I was engaged to someone who made me miserable. Now I'm engaged to someone who makes me feel alive." "How's that feel?" "Terrifying. Amazing. Right. All three at once?" "All three at once." She looked at me. "I meant what I said earlier. Thank you for everything." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You could have turned me away that night. Could have told me to deal with my own problems. But you didn't. You let me in. You fought for me. You gave me somewhere safe to figure out who I actually am. You would have figured it out anyway. Maybe, but it would have been a lot harder. And a lot lonelier." She paused. "I think that's what love is supposed to be. Not someone completing you or fixing you, but someone giving you space to be yourself." "Where'd you learn that?" "From you, watching how you are with Jamie, how you let him be exactly who he is without trying to shape him into something else. That's what you do for me too." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just pulled her close. We got married 2 months later. Small ceremony. Just family and a few close friends. Nothing fancy. Nora wore a simple dress. I wore a suit I'd owned for years. Jamie was the ring bearer and took the job very seriously. Ryan gave a toast that made everyone laugh and Nora cry. My boss showed up with his wife. Marcus came with his girlfriend. Even Linda, our lawyer, stopped by with congratulations. It wasn't perfect. The cake was lopsided. The flowers were slightly wilted. Jamie spilled juice on his dress shirt right before the ceremony. But it was real. And it was ours. During our vows, Nora said something I'll never forget. "I spent so long living a life that looked right from the outside but felt wrong on the inside. And then I met you. And you showed me what it feels like when the outside and inside actually match. When you don't have to pretend or perform or be anyone other than who you are. That's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. So I promise to give you the same thing, to love you exactly as you are, to build a life with you that's real, even when real is messy, especially when real is messy. I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit it. My vows were simpler. You showed up at my door in the middle of a storm and changed everything. I love you for that. I love you for your courage, for choosing yourself even when it was terrifying, for choosing me even when it was complicated. And I promise to never make you regret it. When we kissed, Jamie cheered so loud the whole room laughed. The reception was in Ryan's backyard, nothing fancy, just tables and lights and music playing from someone's phone. We danced, we ate, we celebrated with people who actually mattered. At one point, Jamie pulled Nora aside. Does this mean I can call you Mom? He asked. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. Only if you want to. I want to. Then yes, you can call me Mom. He hugged her, and watching them together, I realized this was what I'd been looking for all along without knowing it. Not perfection, just belonging. Life after the wedding wasn't dramatically different. We still argued about whose turn it was to do dishes. We still struggled with money sometimes. We still had hard days. But we had each other. And that made everything else manageable. Nora officially adopted Jamie a year later. The legal process took months, but when it was finally done, when the judge declared her Jamie's legal mother, she cried so hard she could barely stand. I never thought I'd have this, she said that night. A family that actually feels like family. Well, you do now. I know, and I'm never letting it go. Cameron sent a message through his lawyer about a year after we got married. Just a simple note saying he was getting married himself and wanted to clear the air. No apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just a sterile attempt to move forward. Nora didn't respond, just deleted the message and moved on. I'm not interested in his version of closure, she said. I got my own closure when I walked away. Sometimes I think about that night. The storm, the knock on the door, the way Nora looked standing there, terrified and determined and desperate. I think about how easily it could have gone differently, how I could have said no, how she could have given up, how Cameron could have won, but none of that happened. Instead, we fought, we survived, we built something real out of the wreckage. And that's the thing about life. It doesn't give you perfect. It gives you choices. And what you do with those choices determines everything. Nora chose to leave. I chose to let her in. We both chose to fight when it would have been easier to quit. Those choices saved us. Not because we were special, not because we had some advantage other people don't, but because we refused to settle for lives that felt wrong just because they looked right. I learned something from all of this. From watching Nora find her courage, from fighting Cameron, from building a family that nobody would have predicted. I learned that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone real. Someone who sees you at your worst and chooses you anyway. Someone who fights alongside you instead of expecting you to fight alone. I learned that family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up, the people who stay, the people who choose you every single day even when it's hard. And I learned that sometimes the best things in life come from the moments that scare you most, from the choices that feel impossible, from the risks you take when every logical part of your brain is screaming to play it safe. Nora taught me that, without meaning to, just by being brave enough to knock on my door and change everything. 5 years later, we're still here, still figuring things out, still arguing about bedtimes and whose turn it is to make dinner, still learning how to love each other better. Jamie's 10 now. He plays baseball. He reads constantly. He's funny and kind and exactly who he's supposed to be. Nora runs the marketing department at her firm. She's good at it, really good. The kind of good that makes me proud every time I hear her talk about work. We bought a house. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. Every room filled with proof that we made it, that we took something broken and scared and built something whole. Sometimes late at night, when Jamie's asleep and the house is quiet, Nora and I sit on the porch like we did in those early days. You ever regret it? She asks sometimes. Taking me in? Never. Not even when I'm being difficult? Especially then, she laughs. Why? Because difficult means you're being yourself, and that's all I ever wanted. She leans against me. I love you. I love you too. And sitting there in the dark with the woman I love and the life we built together, I realize something. We didn't just survive, we won. Not against Cameron, not against the doubt and fear and all the voices telling us this wouldn't work. We won against the parts of ourselves that wanted to quit, that wanted to play it safe, that wanted to settle for less than what we deserved. We chose each other every single day. And that choice made all the difference. That's what I want people to understand. When you're drowning in a life that looks right but feels wrong, you have a choice. It won't be easy. It might cost you everything. People might not understand, but you can choose yourself. You can walk away from what's killing you and toward what makes you feel alive. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you'll find someone who chooses you back, someone who sees you clearly and loves you anyway, someone who fights alongside you when the world tries to tear you down. That's what Nora and I found in each other, not a fairy tale, not perfection, just real love, the kind that survives storms and builds something lasting, the kind worth fighting for. And when I look at our life now, at everything we've built from that one desperate choice on a rainy night, I know one thing for certain: we do it all again. Every hard moment, every fight, every terrifying leap into the unknown. Because this, right here, is exactly where we're supposed to be. Together.